Good day, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. As you can see from the intro, fall is upon us and it is getting colder. That, unfortunately, means that winter is on its way with all its wind, ice, and snow. And that means no more riding for us folks in the north. But that brings up a question that I have gotten a few times, and that is how I winterize my bike over the long winter months. So I'll go through a few things first, and then I'll let you know what I personally do for my bikes. The first thing to worry about is the battery. Letting your battery sit all winter is a good way to ruin it. And believe me, I have done that. Newer bikes with their alarm systems and such will draw power from the battery constantly. Your best bet is to have a trickle charger or a battery maintainer hooked up. You do not need a specific Harley brand charger if you have a Harley, but it does not hurt. If you have an older bike, you can always remove the battery completely. And with the price of a battery these days, looking after it will save you a lot of money in the long run. Now, other than the battery, your fuel is a main concern as well, sitting for months. It is especially a concern for carbureted motorcycles. Fuel can deteriorate and can also clog your jets, lines, or even injectors. You should be filling your gas tank up with good, clean fuel before storage and adding a good fuel stabilizer over the winter. Some folks will also drain their carburetors, but that may be a little much for me. Now we get to the air intake. This means stuffing your air box. Something like this can really depend on where you're leaving your bike over the winter. What I mean by that is mice. Mice will chew through a filter and make nests in your intake or your exhaust pipe for that matter. Steel wool has been what I have heard many folks use just to plug up those holes over the winter. Another thing to consider is the oil. It would not be a bad idea to change your oil before storage. Dirty oil can have a buildup of corrosive materials, which could cause corrosion in your engine. There's nothing wrong with dropping the fluids before you put your bike away. And this goes for your bikes with coolant as well. Now, these are the main points I personally would consider before winter storage. As for me, I have done a bunch of different things over the years. Right now, I store my two bikes in a garage. The garage is heated. However, it is kept just above freezing in the winter. Now, I have stored bikes in heated storage and unheated. Some of my bikes have sat in garages in more than 30 degrees below zero. The one thing I have never done, though, is left them outside over winter. As for batteries, that depends on the bike. The newer bikes, I have had to put them on a battery maintainer that I got from Harley. On the older bikes, I usually took the batteries right out of the machine and put them somewhere warm. I have left them in the bike at times, even in freezing temps. If I did that, I made sure the batteries were charged. I cannot stress that enough. If you are going to leave a battery in your bike in freezing temperatures, it needs to be charged or it will freeze, and that's the end of your battery. I'm not going to get into the weeds with battery acid composition and things like that, but long story short, a charged battery should generally not freeze. I also always put a decent fuel stabilizer in the gas tank and fill it before I put the bike away. After the stabilizer is in and the tank has been filled with good, clean fuel, I take it for a short ride to make sure that the stabilized fuel is completely ran through the entire fuel system so that nothing ends up getting gummed up. This goes for both the carbureted and fuel-injected models. I haven't done anything different for either of them. I will also admit that back in the day, I have gone a few years without putting in new fuel or stabilizer before storage. I've just been lucky that I've never had an issue with that. I have never stuffed my air intake or exhaust pipes for rodents. I have not had the need to do that, as I've never left my bike somewhere where there has ever been an issue with mice or rodents. But all in all, I can't say that it would be a bad idea to do, just in case. I usually change the fluids in the bike before I put it away before winter, but I personally don't feel that that's absolutely necessary. But I can tend to be a little bit fussy or OCD about things. I have gone plenty of years in the past without changing the oils before winter, and I have never had any issue with the bike whatsoever because of that. I don't always cover my bike either over the winter. It all depends on how dirty or dusty the storage area is. I can always just give it a quick wipe down if need be. The last thing that I will do concerns the tires. Now, there are lots of folks who will put a bike on a jack or stands to keep the weight off the tires. This is to keep the tires from developing flat spots from sitting in the same place for months. Now, I have never done this. What I usually do is I just move the bike once in a while, a couple feet one way or the other, and I have never had an issue with any flat spots on my tires by doing this over the winter. And that's about it for what I do with my bikes. There are other things that can be done, I'm sure, but this has always worked for me, and I've had over 20 winters with bikes. The only issue I think I ever did have was I let a battery discharge and freeze, which was completely avoidable and completely my fault. But what do you guys do? Let me know in the comments. Maybe there's something I can do better this year. But anyway, that's going to do it for today. So if you are still out there riding, you guys try to keep warm, and we will catch you in the next one.